I absolutely love fantasy games. Skyrim changed my life. Elden Ring was one of the most rewarding gaming experiences ever, Wild Hunt blew my mind, and Baldur's Gate 3 was one of the most important man-made inventions since food and water. Now I'm convinced that Japan are having a massive comeback in the gaming scene right now, releasing absolute mega hits and beating the US companies. We've already had 2 popular game releases this year from Japan, and I've just finished completing both of those games. This week, it's Dragon's Dogma 2's turn for the review table. First of all, and I will die on this hill, the combat in Dragon's Dogma 2 is absolutely fantastic, and I can tell you the exact moment I was sold on this game. When I was fighting an ogre early on in the storyline, I climbed up on its head and gripped onto its face, and it fell down losing its balance. I was gobsmacked then. I haven't played a game where you can grab things and wrestle a 15-foot monster to the ground. That was phenomenal. Then I learned later on in another ogre battle, I literally was standing on its back and held triangle down for no reason in the combat. My character put all his weight behind the sword and again caused the ogre to stagger. Then I hit it again with the same move and it goes toppling over, knocking it out cold. There was moments like that dotted throughout Dragon's Dogma 2, and it was an absolute blast to play. I went with the fighter vocation. I went back and forth, but I always went back to the fighter. I just love fighting these things up close. Then near the end of my playthrough, I unlocked the Mystic Spear Hand vocation, and I was slashing these things up and down like Darth Maul. If you're looking for a great story style game, this isn't really that, but there is a wee story there. It does the job. Few little romance scenes, high stakes. It was good enough to keep me engaged. But there was another reason I loved the cutscenes. Seeing my created character in there, acting out the scenes. Because whilst Dragon's Dogma 2 doesn't have a 10 out of 10 epic storyline like The Witcher 3, it makes up for it for having the most superb character creation system I have ever seen in a game. I always like to try make myself as the playable character in every game I play if it's a character creation. I just love doing that. Like Skyrim I did it, Baldur's Gate 3, but my favourite was Dragon's Dogma 2's attempt, because I literally got a picture of myself and was able to keep moulding my face until I could get as close as possible to that photo. This is the closest I have ever got to making myself in a game, and seeing myself in these cutscenes in a higher resolution, squaring up to a gigantic mega dragon like a boss, was cool as anything. Even the cutscenes with the other characters, I was looking at it, half interested in the story, yeah, but I was sat there in the best mood ever, seeing myself in the cutscenes like, that's me in the romance scenes. It's a fantasy game, and everyone worshipped me as the Arisen, aka the Chosen One. That was super cool. And if I could do it, anyone can make themselves in this game. I'm useless. And I'm telling you, watching yourself clamber up a 20-foot Cyclops and stabbing it in the eye, that will never get old ever. Speaking of the Cyclopses, the monsters in this are terrific. I grew up watching the old Ray Harryhausen stop-motion movies, and I can tell you Capcom took heavy inspiration from his films when making Dragon's Dogma 2. I know this because I watched all those films, and I knew exactly where Talos' weak point was in his boss fight because of Jason and the Argonauts. I literally ran over to where his weak point was in that film, thinking, isn't there a thing on his, oh yes, I was right, yes, get in. I absolutely loved those movies. The Cyclops and Sinbad was part of my childhood, and being able to see myself fight the Cyclops, not only fight it, but beat it. I have to say though, my favourite monster to fight in this has to be the ogres. They were epic, pure King Kong, and I was there for all of it. The Griffins were tough as can be as well. Early on in the game, I properly struggled with them. They are really, really powerful. Me and my pawns spent the first week getting obliterated by Griffins in this game. It was tragic, but I deserved it for being an overly ambitious level 3. Now, let's talk about the main reason why I got through this game. I wish I could say that it was because of my skills and intellect as a gamer. The truth is, I had 3 companions who made this job a whole lot easier for me. Pawns are basically multiversal followers who accompany you, the Arisen, in his endeavours. You get 2 pawns who you can replace whenever you like, and recruit more powerful ones as you level up, but you also have 1 main pawn. One who you can also create in Character Creator. I decided to design her this way because I could get wrecked. You will go through hell and back together, and by the end of the game, whenever my pawn got dropped in combat, I stopped everything to rush over and resurrect her. Not because I'm nice, because she was a mage and healed me constantly in battle, right? But also because my pawn was with me throughout this crazy journey, and she was my one true pal, my only bright star. Now, there are some great wee characters in this game. You have Ulrika, who is smitten by the Arisen from day 1, fantasy game. You save her in the beginning from the dragon, and it is this that leads to the dragon making you Arisen in the first place. Here's what I love about the dragon. He is the big bad of the game, but he's not evil. He's a bit like Galactus from the Marvel comics. He's not evil. He doesn't want to kill the Arisen or do damage to him, really. It's just the purpose he was created for. In the final battle with the dragon, before it, I got the sense that the dragon in another life could have been allies with the Arisen. You have the human villains who are evil, but when the dragon shows up, you can tell he's not like them. His sole purpose is to create a being destined to kill him. That's it. It's quite sad, really. I felt sorry for the dragon. It is a classic story of you being the chosen one and rising up and battling the all-powerful dragon. You do get to battle lesser dragons throughout the game, and even they are tough. I got obliterated by the one up the top of that mountain for 3 days. Now yes, it was difficult fighting the dragons, the griffins, the cyclopses, but my arch nemesis in this game was the frickin' harpies. I hated them, right? I was a fighter for like 80% of my playthrough. I just love swords and shields, and they're not that tough really, but I couldn't catch them. They just swoop in, grab me or my pawns and yeet us off a cliff, and this happened all the time. Fighting that dragon on the mountain was tough, but it was even more difficult getting to the mountain because there's like 50 million monsters in the way, and it's like 2 miles or something. And by the time you arrive, you have 1 apple, 0 pawns left, and like 2% health. You know how long it took me to realise there's a campsite right at the entrance of the ruins? Too long. Like 2 days. I just walked past it, never clocked it. That's what I did to kill the dragon in the end. I did really well, but 2 of my pawns were dead. It was just me and my main weirdly attractive pawn left. I had 1 health bar left on the dragon, but I was dying, right? I was flattened. So I ran down to the campsite, woke up with full health, ran up. The dragon was still in the same health, and I still nearly died, but the floor collapsed with it, knocking it out, and then I shanked it through its head. Deed, mate. That's how I did it. I cheated, but I got it. There are so many moments that caught me by surprise in the combat. When I say surprise, I really mean geek out. There was a moment, this never happened to me before. I was fighting that dragon, the same dragon, in the final battle with the lesser dragon I had before I finally took it down. The dragon flew up and shook me off, and I was falling to my death. For those few seconds, I was devastated. I was going, oh, this is it. I'm dead. And then I just about hit the ground. I smashed my bedroom window, and then my main pawn caught me caught me with their arms and saved my life. It happened in that fight, and it happened again against Talos when I ran out of wake stones. I gasped when the pawn first caught me. Like, if I had hit the ground both of those times, I would have been dead, right? It would have been it. But luckily, there she was, in the right place at the right time, catches my Arisen, and I was able to fight on and win. Yes, that's one battle, one monster fight. I was fighting things throughout this playthrough. I love that you can pick people up and launch them like 30 feet in any direction. That's what I did to this geezer who tried to cause hassle for Ulrika. There isn't a lock-on feature in combat. The combat isn't that fast, really. It feels realistic. It is natural. Climbing up the ogres is full-on Beowulf as well. Like, this game is super fun. I've completed the main story. I had just unlocked the Mystic Spear vocation, and you can get this armor right before the final boss fight. It makes you look like a Greek god, and it looks absolutely epic. So I'm going back to do loads of side quests and get more money to afford the full set of that armor. There's a little crown, a little headpiece, and I couldn't afford that, it was too expensive, so I need to go back and get that. The soundtrack is pretty awesome as well. There is this soundtrack that plays when you're on your way to defeating a big monster that sounds like this. I knew when that song played, I was in a good position in my life. I was reassured. Then a harpy flies down and drops me into the blight. There was a harpy that flew down in my battle with the lesser dragon at the end, and I panicked more than I ever would have with any real life situation like mortgages and that, right? That's what's awesome about this game. Things just happen. You're fighting a griffin, then an ogre comes out and drop kicks the griffin, and then starts eating my pawn. Hands off, you big furry. I still can't get over seeing myself in the cutscenes. Seeing myself in this world made me realise one thing. Jesus Christ, I'm short. There's that woman in the red dress, the one that works in the brothel for the nobles that helps you. Proper flirty with me, yeah? Fantasy game. She was so much taller than me, I was raging in a few ways. Yeah. This game is funny as well. Like, it's janky. But I liked that. Everyone in this kingdom worships the ground you walk on. 10 minutes into the main story, everyone you walk past in the wilderness just straight up offers to help you, no questions asked. They worship you. All the pawns that just work for the Arisen, they just work for you like that. This is where it reminded me of Skyrim. The NPCs are really basic, right? But that's sort of the charm of it. Like, Ulrika and all the characters have the depth of my tolerance when my cats beg for food all day. NPCs, when they're speaking in game, the mouth movements maybe match 1% of the words being said. At first it's a bit odd, but you adjust to it, or I adjusted to it quickly. That's another reason I love the cutscenes, watching me interact with people. Completely obsessed with me, it's great. The mouth movements match the words being said. The production quality goes up, and yeah. Make yourself as the character and try not to laugh when you square up to a 50-foot dragon thinking you can win. Like, come on. If that dragon pulled up in my day job in real life outside the door, what do you think's gonna happen there? I'll tell you what, he'll ask for my autograph because he watched my Days Gone review that has over 6,000 views now. Yes! The graphics are solid as well. The distant mountains and the sprawling desert landscapes are a joy to wander through. There is microtransactions in it, but I never use them. You don't need to use them, it's just an option, but yeah, I'm not paying that, I'm Scottish, remember? Now there is a real basic feel to this game, but it's not got fleshed out characters like The Witcher 3, but I love that simple charm the characters have. It reminded me of Skyrim, and if I am reminded of Skyrim, I'm happy. But then, there is a little bit of The Witcher 3 in there, elements of it. Especially the mini romance arc you have with Ulrika. It's a short side story, mind you, but it's a nice little surprise. It adds a mini bit of weight to the game. It's not like Final Fantasy VII Rebirth level. It's not a story game, but it does enough to keep me engaged. But really, I just wanted to run around and stand on a griffin's back and stab it all day. That's it. Dragon's Dogma 2 is a world-class game. It's incredibly fun, with an incredibly fun combat system, brilliant monster designs, a great soundtrack, wonderful graphics, and above all else, a super handsome playable character who deserves a subscriber for that. Shut up. I had great fun with this game, and I'd absolutely recommend it to anyone looking for a good game to come home from work and just chill out. Not too difficult, but challenging at times early in the game. The game tells you nothing, so get yourself ready for reading and prepare yourself to study and learn the game's secrets bit by bit. I've been Ross, and I'll see you next time.